Well, hello friends and welcome back. Today I'm just stacking some wood, doing some little odds and ends here in my tiny little wood yard, and I was going through some of my rows here and just noticing how much this hickory has shrank since I stacked it last fall. And I remember I had it pretty level, you know, it wasn't this far down, it was pretty good, and it just shrank so much on all of these. So I was going through and kind of topping them off with some loose totes of it that I had, but it made me think, how dry is this? It seems like it shrank a lot. And as I was kind of going through all the totes, seeing which ones needed topped off, because as you can see, like this stuff, I topped it off with stuff. This was stacked in loose totes and it was over on the end. And I was just looking around and I was just noticing, you know, all this wood looks pretty cracked up. So I think what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go through and I'm going to pull a piece out of each bin. I'm going to tell you when I split it, when I stacked it, kind of what the condition of the tree was before, and how quick it's dried. So it is now the middle of August, like second or third week of August. Actually, I think it's August 22nd. So that'll be kind of a reference point. So let's start on this hickory first. So sorry if my audio isn't great today. My microphone is dead, so can't use it, and I still really wanted to do this video. So I'm going to kind of look for, not at the very bottom of the stack, but something a little bit further in. And then, so I've got this good piece of hickory, and it is a one-hander. This is a nice split, so I'll just have to split it in half. This is how I usually like to split my stuff, maybe a little bit bigger. I guess this is probably like, you know, a 3x2 or a 3x3. Sometimes I split 4x4s or something like that. But this tree, this hickory, whenever I cut it, this one, I believe it was standing and it was alive. It was pretty green. I did have some hickory that was standing dead and it had some raw in it, but I had two different sets of hickories, and this one definitely looks like it was pretty healthy, like it was standing green. And this was cut down last October, and it was probably split and stacked at the latest in probably December, I would guess, somewhere in there. So this thing, it does have quite a bit of cracking there in the end, so let's split it apart and see what it is. Alright, so on the inside it looks pretty good, like it doesn't look like all rotten and stuff. I'm not using any special moisture meter, it's just one that I bought a long time ago, and I think it works pretty good. I know all moisture meters are a little different, so we're testing it in the split open side, and right now it is reading at 43%. So that's not very good. That is not good at all. Let's try another spot. So we'll read on the outside, the side that was drying. Even on the side that was drying, it's reading 21%. So this hickory definitely did not season very fast. Check at the inside again. Yeah, another 43%. Yeah, so that's 8 months. And I forgot to mention, in these drying conditions that I'm drying, I would say that my drying conditions are pretty much as good as you get, honestly, because this wood bakes in the sun all day. There's no shade over it. It's all open around here. We get a decent amount of breeze. It's not super windy, but we get some good breeze. So I don't think my drying conditions can be any better. I mean, it's stacked, it's in the sun and the heat and the wind. So yeah, it's reading 39%. So that's is definitely not even close to ready. It would make me think this hickory almost needs 2 years. So let's move on to the next one. Next up we have some oak, and this was, I believe this is bur oak, and I got it right down here, you know, on the edge but towards the bottom. This was bur oak. This was a good live standing tree, and it was cut probably last July, and I would guess at the latest it was split and stacked by October. At the very latest, October. Sometimes I remember kind of where I was at when I was doing wood, because I do all my wood kind of in species. Like I do a batch of oak or a batch of hickory or a batch of locust, and I can kind of remember what videos I was making when I was doing that. So we'll split this open and see what it is. So it still looks pretty good inside. Pretty warm. Let's see what she reads. So we'll start on the outside just for fun. The outside reads 14.6. And also I didn't mention this piece here. It was a 4x4. That's a good chunk there. It's not like tiny wood. Like there it is split in two pieces. So it was a good chunk. 14 on the outside. And on the inside, 26.1. So better than the Hickory. Definitely dried a lot better than the Hickory. But still 26%. It's got a way to go. Getting close though. So that was the oak. So these next two will be pretty interesting because this is all elm here, and this was a live tree when it got knocked down by another tree, but it was a live tree when it hit the ground. And this was cut and split probably, I would say, in April at the very latest. Cut and split by April, maybe March, but it's been sitting out here drying. This is just showing extreme signs of cracking. Like it's just cracked up really nice. So all right, so we'll pull a piece out of here and we'll just go for this one. So this is a nice one-hander split, pretty decent, and it's cracked up real nice. We'll split it in half and see what it does. Yeah, that one needed some real wax. This stuff, I assume when it dries up, this elm, it just tightens up. It does not split good at all. Whenever I split it originally, it was stringy, but it split nice because it was wet. Again, this stuff's only been drying for the summertime, really, April to August, so we'll see what it is. And it's reading 21%, so really not bad at all. Like, it's right there if you ask me. I'm sure it would burn phenomenal. The other side, 21% too. And the outside, the outside's 20%, so the elm's pretty accurate all the way through. It's drying very evenly. I would say very fast. That's pretty impressive that it was green in April or March, whenever, and August. I mean, this will be ready to burn in a month, and it'll burn nice. So I've got another one right here for you. Here I've got a Locust, and this one, this stuff's heavy. This Locust was standing green, and probably around December is when it got taken out by a windstorm, and it was cut and split by, I would say, March. I had it all cut and split and stacked, so it's been just drying in the summertime too. Now this stuff, when I got it, it was super heavy, super wet and dense, which it still feels really heavy, so I'm not going to assume this dried very good. But the ends are really cracked up. It has changed color. We'll see what it did. That's definitely the best splitting wood so far. And I remember when I split this, if you guys watched that video, this split so good with an axe when it was green. So again, this was just a one-hander piece. Nothing like huge, just, it was a good piece. So let's see what it dried up to. Inside is 35, 34, 32. Yeah, I think it's gonna rest at 31%, 30%. Yeah, we'll say 30%. So that's not bad for as green as this was, as heavy and dense as this was. That is not bad at all for Locust, in my opinion, because Locust is definitely as dense as oak, and we saw how well the oak dried. Yeah, 30%, 31. And then the outside of it, gosh, this is such hardwood. The outside is 15%, so it's not too bad at all. This still, I think I told you a long time ago that Locust was my new favorite wood, and I think it still is, because it dried up really good for no longer than it's been drying, and it split really good for as hard as the rest of the wood split. So I think I've got one more for you, maybe another one. But so far, pretty happy with this locust. There's one more, kind of a bonus one, I guess. Here's some ash, and everybody likes to say ash is cash. In my opinion, I've found ash, it's not dry right away, and it doesn't dry overnight. Like, I've had some of the driest ash that just cracks right apart, and it doesn't dry super fast. It's a couple months. It's faster than some woods, but it's not overnight. Sell it out of the back of your truck the next day dry. So this ash was definitely some of the healthiest ash I've had. It was dead, but it was very healthy as far as there was no punk on this at all. It cut nice, it split good, like very good ash. Best ash I've seen in a long time. So I cut and split this. It's been dead for who knows how long. It wasn't laying on the ground, so it wasn't punky or taking on water. It's best case scenario for ash as you can get. I cut and split this probably a month and a half ago now. So we'll see how it dried up. It definitely cracked up on the ends pretty good. And again, this was probably a 4x4, 3x3, a good one-hander, but nothing crazy. Let's see what it dried up to be on the inside. Yeah, ash. Well, it's going down, but it's currently at, I think it's gonna settle about 40%. It says 44 right now, but it's going down pretty slow. Okay, it's gonna settle at, yeah, it might make it to 40. It's at 43% right now. 43%. Okay, 42% is where it's going to settle at. So it's definitely not dry overnight. Let's try the other piece. The other piece is, which it's a little bit on the thinner side. It's 30%. So let's see what the outside is. Is the outside even gonna, gosh, this stuff is hard too. The outside did dry up really quick, 14%. So, yeah, it does dry up really quick if you only measure the outside, but if you split it open, of course it's gonna burn great, it's ash, but it's definitely not super dry. All right, next one. And for our very last test, I can't resist, I wanna know. I kinda have a direct head-to-head comparison right now of stacked versus loose. What dries faster, a loose toad of walnut or a stacked toad of walnut? So I can tell you for sure that the loose basket of walnut, it was cut in February of 2023 and it was split and stacked in July of 2023. It sat in a wide open field, sunlight all the time, air all the time, great drying conditions, just like that's here. It didn't dry here, it dried in another field. Excellent drying conditions. And I brought it here and it's been sitting in the shade since because it's been drying for a year. But I'm really curious, how dry is that compared to how dry is this walnut? This walnut was probably split about the same time, probably early in 2023. It spent last summer, just like the other one did, out in the field drying. This one stacked, and it was probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago. It spent last summer in the sun, and then I moved it over here in the shade because I figured it was done drying. So let's get them both cracked open and see which one is actually drier. This will be interesting. I know it's not like a direct comparison, but it's pretty close, like probably as close as you're gonna get without spending a year and a half of remembering this to do. So we'll see. All right, so on my left, we have the loose stacked walnut. It's a one-hander, good piece. On the right, we have the stacked piece of walnut. It's a touch bigger, but it's really close. I'm gonna try and crack these both in half. I got them both apart, no problem. This is the blue stacked piece right in the middle. On the split side, we're at 15%. On the outside of the uncracked, we have 11%, so very good. I don't think this is gonna be able to beat it. 11 and 14's pretty tough numbers. So right in the middle, we got 14%, right on the dot. 13.9, yeah, 14. On the unsplit side, uncracked, we got 12%. So 12, 11, pretty much the same thing. So that was definitely a pretty interesting find, because those woods, of as far as when they were split and stacked and all that, very, very similar timetables. Their drying conditions, very similar timetables. I can see where you could say that these would flow air better through there. They would radiate heat better through there. I don't know. I can see where you would say that this would flow better air through, because there's a lot of holes, but there's also like a lot of gaps, like it, you know what I'm saying? So it's you could go either way. I think the most important part about drying firewood is direct sunlight. I think firewood is like anything else. It's just like a tire. If you put a tire in heat but not sunlight, it could live for 20 years. If you put a tire in a field with sunlight on it every day, it's going to crack up, and after 10 years it's probably not going to be any good. So I think, in my opinion, which I'm just an idiot, in my opinion, the most important part about drying firewood is, you know, try to get some breeze, but I think it's more just direct sunlight. If you can get direct sunlight and just heat just beating on it, radiating it on it, is the most important part. It's like those 100-degree days outside when it's just super hot, and like you go pick up a rock outside, or you step on concrete and you're like, damn, that's hot. I think that's what's really drying the firewood. Or those like really cold days where there's just no moisture in the air at all, like it's 0 degrees and it's just sucking all the moisture out of it. I remember years ago in the wood yard, I saw a video where he cut the log, and it was a green log. There's moisture in it, and then the next day he came back and all the moisture like had formed icicles out of it. So clearly the super cold weather works. Shout out to Chris in the wood yard. But that's my take on it. So I like walnut, it dries pretty nice, and I like that locust. The hickory, not a big fan of it. It was heavy, the bugs tear it up, like the hickory borer beetle, whatever the heck it is. I've seen it in everybody's hickory. I know it's not just mine. The bugs tear it up. Not really a big fan. It takes forever to dry. The oak, I don't mind the oak. It splits nice. I think it dries a little bit better than the hickory. Yeah, the ash, it's not cash, doesn't dry overnight. It may dry quicker, but I think there's other woods that dry just as quick as ash. So hey, that's it for today. If you made it all the way to this point, thanks for watching. I hope you found it interesting, and I hope to see you back on the next video. I'll see you then. Have a good one.